Felicitations! It is me, Felicia Day, and you are listening to my podcast. Welcome, y'all. It has been a little bit longer. I'm not gonna apologize anymore. You get what you get, y'all. No hostility. I was a week late on my podcast, and it was because last week was last 2 weeks have been a crazy, crazy mess in a good way. I've been super busy rewriting something that I will finally be able to talk about in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Guys, this project I've been working on since it's been a year now since I thought up the idea and I sold it and it got made and it's going to, I'm so excited, y'all. It's a rare moment when you're just, you put everything you have into something and it is what you thought in your head, except better because the people around you make it better. And anyway, so that'll be out. I've been getting some, I can't even be specific or you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, 3 weeks from now, it'll be announced and I'm super excited. That was really cool. Yesterday is when I finished that rewrite on that thing and sent it off and sort of like dusted my hands off and go, what's next? And then I look at my list and I get, oh gosh, put me back under the table because I'm frightened of the other things I need to do right now. So it's all good. One thing off my plate, but it was 2 weeks of intense rewriting and I'm very happy with the revisions I made, but it was a little bit intense because I have to fit it in between a million other things I was doing. We had a really good, last week we did a live stream with Voyage to the Stars. If you don't know what Voyage to the Stars is, it is an awesome, awesome podcast, improv sci-fi podcast. And it continues to be funnier and funnier, y'all. As I said, when I listen to the episodes, I don't remember us saying the words that come out of our mouths because we say them once and forget them. So it's spontaneous and we just dump them out. And so when I listen, I'm listening fresh. I'm like, hi, that girl's pretty funny. Oh, that's me. So please check it out at Voyage to the Stars, anywhere you get your podcasts. It's all free. And then I also had a really fun event at Flappers with the Mystery Science Theater crew. For some reason, Totino's Pizza Rolls sponsored the last season of MST3K. And we did a live reading of the comic book, the MST3K comic book, which, by the way, is very, very funny. It basically riffs old comic books. It's a clever idea. And so we did a live stage reading with Jonah and me and Rebecca and Tim and, everybody. Joel was there and Grant playing Crow. And so the old hats were there along with the Critical Role crew. Critical Role, those people, D&D experts extraordinaire. I believe Matt Mercer was on Colbert Report the other day or did something with Colbert, which I was like, he made it. It's so exciting. It's so exciting to see your friends do fancy things. It really is, guys. And so that was pretty fun. The reading was super great. I love catching up with those guys. I haven't been out of my house, and I realize that I have not been myself, y'all. I have not been myself since I gave birth. And I feel a little bit like myself now, 3 months after I weaned my baby, and I'm convinced that breastfeeding just changed my brain and affected a lot of the ways that I work, a lot of the ways I think of the world. I don't know if it's biological. Maybe I'm just more sensitive to hormones. When I did IVF, when I put those estrogen patches on to do implantations that ultimately did not work, I went crazy. I almost smothered somebody with a pillow because I was so angry at them. And I'm not an angry person. So I think I'm just super sensitive to hormonal shifts in my body. And the whole weaning thing, like I've already talked about, was super, super hard on me because now it's like night and day. So I'm so happy. Also, I went to my thyroid doctor and I halved my thyroid medication. So she said that some of my symptoms of the panic attacks in the night, the heart racing, all that stuff, is a symptom of too much thyroid medicine. So after I went off of it last year, I went back on it and it maybe was too high a dose for my body. So I halved it and for a week. And last night, I finally am oh, I don't have this anymore. So it's really, really cool, y'all. And honestly, this is a big lesson. And if you have a problem, be proactive in trying different things to do it. Sometimes I have such a tendency to be well, this is the way it is. I can't affect change. I guess I will suffer like a martyr. And honestly, you can always do something. You can always just take a little pick and chip away at it. because any progress is better than no progress. So I have been aggressive in trying to get some cognitive behaviors therapy help with kind of my anxiety just around performance and things like that. I'm kind of screening therapist people, and so that's kind of a fun thing. I'm like interviewing people to date with my money and health insurance. But being proactive is so empowering, and I feel finally I'm in the headspace to be proactive, whereas like the last 2 years, I'm like, this is fine, I'll just stay in my house. So I think there are a lot of factors that exacerbated a lot of my problems, but you know, if you've always been anxious and Bert, you're not going to leave it or lose it overnight. And I'm getting myself a pat on the back for doing things about it. So I encourage you guys, if you have an issue that's affecting your life in a negative way, be proactive. Do anything is better than nothing. And I already said that. What else did I see? What did I do? I did, last week, I did an ad campaign for Ubisoft, for Ghost Recon. They announced the new Ghost Recon Breakpoint video game. And I only mention this because for the first time about, I don't know, a very long time, I made a video. And it's pretty clear I made it all myself. You know, I'm not like a flashy graphics kind of person. I had to relearn Final Cut X. I made the video too long for Instagram, so it was like 2 parts, which probably affected the number of views it got, but whatever. I had so much fun, y'all. I forgot that I missed making videos. And I did everything myself, and I was so proud of it. It's just like, I know that sometimes I'm like, oh, you need to go out and like work with other people, and yet genuinely my greatest joy comes from just working alone. And maybe I should take that into my life a little bit more, but yeah. So I made this video. I'm super proud of it. I agreed to do it because I actually really love this game. I had not played it a lot before, but I had played co-op with my brother. And then when they approached me, I played the game quite a bit, the old Wildlands, which was the last one. And I have to tell you, it was so fun. It's an open world game, so you can get in any car and just drive around and crash into llamas and stuff. And it's kind of like if you guys watched my Twitch channel and watched me do Assassin's Creed, clearing the forts. Essentially, this is a whole game about clearing forts, except you're doing co-op. And it's in modern day versus like you know, a fantasy world, which, of course, I would prefer better than sort of a Bolivia. But, you know, you take what you can get. So Ron and I played it a bunch, and I just had to say that it was really fun. And just making the video was super cool. So that was a really nice reminder of what I like to do. So I can't promise that I'll try to make videos because honestly, it took like 3 days to do that. And then I was like behind on my rewrite. But I will say that it made me feel accomplished. And I think in the last several years, I've been in that Hollywood spiral of like working on making things, but not getting things made. And suddenly I have that happen. I finished this thing. I finished a contract in another project that I'm writing that's I'm very excited about that actually is going to get made early next year, hopefully. So it's really, I feel like all my hard work is finally kind of paying off, but the long game of it was really depressing. What? Somebody just texted me. It wasn't important. So anyway, that was cool. I also went axe throwing, which I'm just going to casually drop. Also, before we get too far into the wet podcast, please, if you have questions for me, leave them on Twitter with the hashtag felicitations, and I will get to them. We need more questions. I mean, we do have enough, but always could use a great list to choose from. So just, you know, send me a question with the hashtag felicitations. Great. So yeah, axe throwing. I mean, here's the thing. It was super fun. And I felt like a badass, and that's all that counts in life. There's a place in LA called LA Axe. And there's no alcohol involved, which I heard in Austin there is a bar with axe throwing and alcohol involved. And I would not want to go there. I was really worried. Like, one of the requirements of this LA Axe place is that you wear closed-toe shoes. And that just made me picture losing fingers because clearly I don't have closed-toe, you know, closed-fingered gloves, right? What if I lose a finger? I mean, I could live, but it would be uncomfortable for writing and stuff and typing, even though I type like a pterodactyl, so like for only 3 fingers. I really do. But it was super fun. And I went with a bunch of the ladies from MST3K, but then we needed more people because it's a minimum of 6 people, so we had to invite 2 dudes. And of course, let's be honest, in a frustrating turn of events, not to hate on them, but they ended up you do a little tournament if you go as a group. They, of course, ended up in the bottom 2. or the top two? Because, I'm sorry, the axes were heavier. Like, proportionally to the body's weight and strength and height, they had an advantage with the axe. Physically. So I want a woman's axe. I might get one custom. I'm going to show up with my custom axe. It will not have a pink handle. It was super fun. You could bring your own birthday cake. I want to go back with the birthday cake. No alcohol, which is against the rules anyway. Super fun. I would look in your local. Also, I was also in Detroit last weekend, and that ties into axe throwing because I randomly walked to get a steak at a place that I guess cooks steaks on a hot stone, which people were excited about. But then I was like, I don't want to cook my own steak. This is terrible. Why am I going to pay a premium on cooking somewhere else outside a kitchen? So we didn't go there. But there was an axe throwing place in Detroit. So I'm telling you, wherever you live, axe throwing is the thing. Get in there and definitely don't lose a finger because I told you to go. Detroit was awesome. I went to Motor City Comic Con, and that was a Comic Con that Will Wheaton had recommended that I go to for years. And I was so excited to go because I knew a lot of people on the guest list. Tom Ellis, who plays, or I don't know what his last name is, Tom Lucifer, my friend Brandon Routh from Legends, and a lot of other people. I actually paid to get a photo. For the first time in my life, I paid to get a photo with John Cleese. And when I saw him on the list, I was so excited. When I approached him for the photo, I started crying. Okay? Tears in eyes, crying. You never know. And, when I'm at the convention, often once or twice or 3 times during the day, someone will start crying when they meet me. Okay? It's a surreal experience, y'all, because who knew when I was born I would make something that actually impacted anyone, ever? Who knew that at any point someone would wait in line to meet me? It seems crazy. It really does. Every single time I meet anyone, I am so grateful that I have any relevance to their life at all. But, I always tell people this is such a compliment because nobody's going to be crying when they meet somebody if they're not impacted by what they do, right? And so John Cleese, not only as a kid, I thought Monty Python was probably the funniest thing ever. I watched Holy Grail like a million zillion times, but he has a lecture on creativity that he gave many, many years ago that I think is the most brilliant piece of work ever. I haven't watched it in a while, but it is incredible. I highly recommend watching on YouTube if you can. So the whole weekend was crazy nuts. I had to leave early on Sunday, so it was wall to wall. I bought some stuff from artists there. They had actually very nice artisans there, even though it was mostly like signing. Like there were so many guests. It was really cool, and that was really fun. So in Detroit, I didn't get to see it, so I can't even tell you. We weren't even in Detroit. Like I will fly somewhere, and then I'm like, I'm in Detroit. Oh no, you're 30 miles outside of Detroit. So I didn't even go to Detroit technically. No offense. I will see your city one day. Actually, Detroit, is kind of famous for their ruins porn. So in 2010 and 2012, some photographers went to Detroit to photograph dilapidated mansions and halls and opera houses and theaters that were just so gorgeous inside with the heyday around the turn of the century and the early part of this in the 1900s. And yet now it fell into disarray. And so people used to take tours of these ruins, and there was if you look online and search Detroit ruins, you'll come up with some amazing photography. I think a couple of the artists just put everything online. So I highly urge you to look at it because it really kind of reminds you of an apocalypse situation. What could happen or what happens to the past. Everything is transient, and everything disintegrates into, Earth. That's not depressing. So anyway, I guess nowadays they've gotten rid of that because people are really renovating everything, and you could go in there and buy a house for $1, but it's very expensive to renovate. And but anyway, it's a city in transition, and I was kind of hoping to be able to walk around and just kind of experience the city, and yet that did not happen. So I guess on a separate trip, I'd never kind of done a convention up in that area, and it was so nice to see people who reminded me of all the things I make that they enjoy, like especially guild people. I got to do something with that or something. I'm not sure. Next year. Anyway, so it's been a really, really busy 3 weeks. I mainly because of the tension of Game of Thrones coming out. And I'm not going to dog on Game of Thrones, y'all. I'm not going to do it because I know how hard it is to make things. I know how hard it is to execute anything. Dragon Age Redemption, when I tried to make that was an hour of content for, I can't tell you how much legally that I got. But I can tell you it was, it was pennies compared to any episode of Game of Thrones. I think there's like $10 million episode. You know, I'm talking like a season of the Guild budget that we did the less that we did Dragon Age Redemption on. And I called in every favor ever, so clearly there was a lot more on the screen than there should have been given our budget. But how hard that was to pull off in any way, it just makes me awestruck when I ever see an episode of Game of Thrones. Was I excited about the ending? I just think that they rushed too much. I think there were a lot of character moments we needed to get to the places where we went to, and that's what frustrated a lot of people. And there was a great article on Scientific America about sociological storytelling, and I found it to be fascinating. So if you search Game of Thrones Scientific American, it's a really long article, but just fascinating because as a writer, I didn't even realize that sociological writing was a thing. But it is something. When I read this article, I was like, oh, this is everything I want to do when I'm writing. I like to build worlds, but not just build worlds in a superficial way, but show the system of living in worlds, right? And how people relate to it. And they compared Walking Dead to it, which is also a kind of situation where it doesn't really, you are invested in characters, but even if the characters go away that you love, the system is still intact and you're still drawn to wanting to watch what happens within those systems to the other characters that you have. So you can plug in a lot of different characters in Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and the Buffyverse and, all that. And the world building still stands as a vehicle for you to be interested in seeing where it goes, right? So, and I never had put a finger, pinpointed exactly why that was something that attracts me. And that article was really great. It's kind of how the Star Wars universe, I guess, is going to be going forward because they're using the world in such a different way. Also, seeing Endgame, which I saw and I adored. There were a couple of cheesy parts, but overall, how do you do that? How do you juggle that many characters and make it satisfying for all of them? I was really, really interested in that. So, great media consuming couple weeks. I literally was so tense between Game of Thrones episodes. It was like, I can't do anything but wait for this last episode. Even though I know where they're going in a lot of ways and I'm not happy with it, I'm just like, I gotta see it. So in my fan fiction mind, Arya, I'm with Arya wherever she's going. And so I'm not going to type up fan fiction on Wattpad and put it up in an anonymous way. Although I'm super tempted to. But anyway, so it's been a great couple weeks. I didn't really watch any other TV. I read a bunch of books. Oh, by the way, if you are going to watch, I'm going to be streaming my video games. And Garden Flipper, the DLC to House Flipper, which is a home renovation video game, is out. So I gotta stream some of that for y'all. Yeah! Excited about that. Still playing Operencia, which is great. Played some Cult Simulator on my phone when I was traveling because Cult Simulator is one of the most complicated games existing, and that keeps my brain active. And that's in the video game front. And as far as books, I read a bunch of books. I was okay, so after the Romanov book, did I tell you guys about that? Yeah, last time I had finished it. It basically burned me out on some historical fiction and awful people. It was kind of like, you wouldn't believe that if they put that stuff like that in Game of Thrones. You'd be like, ugh. These people are just too... It made Cersei look like, Mother Teresa. So I was kind of needing a amuse-bouche to that. So I read a couple of vaginal fantasy type books. And I read Grave Destiny by Kaylana Price, which was the latest book that just came out in the Alex Craft series, which I highly recommend if you want to get into sort of the romance urban fantasy. One of my favorites. Loved it. Every episode, she has this love triangle going on, and then if the triangle isn't going, I feel like I'm not going to like this, and I end up loving it. This one is the same way, and loved all the fairy stuff. I read Grace Draven's Phoenix Unbound, which was a romance set in sort of like a fictional had a little bit of trigger assault against women and stuff, so just warning about that, but I really love her writing. Right now, I'm reading Woman Would Be King. It's about Hatshepsut. Oh boy. I'm going to pronounce her name next time when I review the book. But anyway, it's about a woman who basically ruled as a king 3,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. And I'm so into it. So it's really, really good. By Coony. I'm also reading Sounds Like Titanic by Jessica Hindman. That's it. I can't make out my handwriting. I hand wrote this because that's what people do in this day and age. It's a biography of her life, and she's a violinist, but she's not good enough because she's not a super good violinist, even though she always wanted to play since she was 2 years old. Her parents were too poor to get her. Anyway, it's a beautiful, I'm halfway through. It's awesome, and she stumbles into this weird job playing, miming violin for this guy who's famous, but she doesn't actually name. I got to figure out who it is. Who makes Titanic type music and touring and selling DVDs. I don't know. It's brilliant. And as a violinist, I love reading it. So I'm excited. I'm trying to spread my wings and not just read people who stab things books. Anyway. All right. Let's do some questions. Mary Rose Hickox says, have you tried Realm Defense? It's my new favorite tower defense game since Kingdom Rush. Mary Rose, thanks for the rec. Downloading now. Immediately. Is it on the iPhone? I'll get it everywhere. Thank you. Next, Rob Houston asks, you talk about all the media you consume except music. What do you listen to? Any new music you like? How about what you're exposing Calliope to music-wise? Are you teaching her to play any instruments? Okay. Big question, Rob, which is great because I was just thinking the other day, I really do not listen to music. When I'm in the car, I listen to educational podcasts. At night, I don't have time to listen to music. I'm really hyper-focused, and I get very distracted if music is playing when I'm working. I kind of think about it like I was a violinist, and I would play in silence in my I would practice the violin in silence in the music practice rooms at college 8 hours a day. And so I have to sort of have complete focus or I get very distracted. Music activates so much emotion in me that I can't just have it on. It's just too involving. And so I kind of have cut myself off from music, which is very odd. I've never been a hip person, but I really do need to brush it up. So I'm breaking out my Spotify account, recommended for you list right now, Rob Houston. I'm really obsessed with Billie Eilish, and I know join the club lady, but she's incredible. She's 16 years old, and she has the coolest music I've ever heard. I kind of, I'm jealous of the fact that not jealous, but I'm admiring the fact that at this age, she could sound so mature and cool, and she dresses crazy, baggy stuff on screen. She just rebels against the whole sort of pop culture female image, which I love. So that is the only new music I've listened to lately. Oh my gosh. I did actually start listening to some Bach before I start writing in the morning because I feel like it does wake my brain up in a way that's unique. And I got my violin repaired so I can start practicing it again because I want Calliope to learn an instrument. She loves music. I made, I think I mentioned this the other day, I made on Spotify a list of coolish baby music, which definitely isn't cool by any mean, but it is I did curate it down to all the, some good stuff. I really love Casper Baby Pants in particular. But lately, I accidentally played her a Halloween playlist, and all we have been listening to for the last 3 weeks is Halloween songs constantly in my house, in the car. Before bedtime! Kill me now! So that's fun. I have not gotten her any music lessons yet. Does have a keyboard that she sometimes pecks away at. She also has a basket full of musical instruments. There's a ukulele in there for her, and I have mine, professional ukulele. There's kazoos and whistles and drums and cymbals and duck calls. Ryan, in particular, my brother, has sent her all the noisy instruments, which is yay, thanks, bro. But she isn't focused enough on music right now for me to want to push her into a class situation. I think when she's 3, so I started violin at 2.5, and so I might kind of start exploring later this year as she approaches 3, maybe doing violin. I'm not sure. I would just have to find a Suzuki person to try. You're supposed to start Suzuki before age 5, so it's a question of or after 5, you basically don't have the neural connection pathways possible to connect for music in a way that's organic and completely like effortless, it's tougher to learn after 5. So I will be looking for that. She goes to art class now for drawing, which she loves. She will literally draw for an hour and not look up. And I'm like, that's more attention than I have. She also goes to swimming, and she also goes to ballet class. So we got a lot of classes going on, but I would like to add something with music. We did a group music class before, and she was kind of bored, but I was too. She doesn't love other kids. She's like, meh on them. Me too. Thanks, Rob. So next question. Danica Vargas asks, I was wondering how you felt bringing Calliope home for the first time. I'm about to pop. Oof. And my husband is deployed. So this is all on me until he comes home. Oh, Danica. Was there anything that made it easier on you or something you wish you had at the time? Okay, Danica. Whoa. You're alone? You need some family and people around you, Danica. You cannot do this alone. This is not possible. I am worried about you. Somebody send help. I literally invested heavily into help the first 2 weeks. I had a night nurse. My friends told me, because I don't have family. So had I had family, I would just have them come in and help me. But I also had a C-section too, so I couldn't pick the baby up. So I did have a person come every night for the first week to help, and every other night the second week to help, just overnight to help me. And also I didn't know how, okay, I will just admit it, I'd never really held a baby before I had a baby. So like I didn't know anything, swaddling, diapers, breastfeeding, like it was all a mystery. I did not do my research, and that bit me in the butt. So having somebody at night there to help was super great. Although she slept a little bit. I feel very bad for you, Danica. The thing I loved the most when I had a baby early on was a thing called nesting days. It is it's kind of like a little dress you put on that's made out of spandex material, and it holds the little baby close. A lot of carriers like Ergos or whatever, they're great when they're older, but when you get that sturdy fabric on a little tiny newborn, it's not comfortable for you to wear or the baby. And the great thing about the nesting days is it keeps your stomach in. It kind of acts like a Spanx. So you're getting like support, and you're able to tuck your baby in, and you just pull it on like a dress. There's no weird straps and stuff. So no sponsored by, but every time a friend has a baby, I send them one of these because it is an investment, and it only goes until they're about 6 months old. But it really is one of the most comfortable and, to me, safe ways to carry a baby around. So I would highly recommend that. You also have to take care of yourself because your mental health is going to be nuts. I mean, not only the logistics of it, if you need help breastfeeding, you got to call somebody. You don't know how to solve this yourself. And it's going to be so upsetting, and you're going to be crying, and you're going to feel like you're out of your control, but you're not going to realize you're out of control. You'll just be out of control because when your emotions are crazy, you don't have a voice in your head that's sane saying, hey, you're acting crazy. That's what people don't understand. That's why people, guys can generalize about women and their hormones all they like, but it's a real thing around especially pregnancy. Like this is something in our brain that allows us to give birth from scratch. So, hey, this is not like a downside, but it is something that intellectually, unless you're out of it, you can't realize what your behavior is acting like. So you need somebody there to be like, hey, do you need help? So I would just recommend help. Just help. And wow, I would be there in a minute. I'm sorry, Danica. Good luck. And send me a text, not a text, but send me a tweet and let me know you're okay. Good luck and congrats. It's awesome. It's just hard. Laura Renee asks, I'm doing a lot of questions. All right, one more. If you could pick, 2 more. No, just one. This is it. If you could pick any 5 TV shows to put in a capsule to preserve for future generations, what would you pick? Easy, Laura. Seinfeld. Because it's the funniest, and there's so many episodes, and it's the funniest. Game of Thrones, because I don't know. The last 2 seasons could have used 5 more episodes between them. All right. That is my opinion. I am not an expert. What they did was still stunning. Whatever. The books are going to be incredible and justify everything that we might have a question mark about if we ever get them, which we will. I have faith. The Wire, because I feel like it's one of those shows that people are like, you have to watch The Wire. And so I'm giving that to future generations. Like, you have to watch this, even though I will never watch it, probably. I know it's good. It just feels like taking medicine. Chef's table, because I just think that culture is food. And I believe that if we could share that with future generations, we can maybe influence. If we had like a chef's table from 1300, we'd probably all be eating pig's head and venison right now. What's wrong with that? And I would put all the David Attenborough movies and shows in there because there will be no animals in the future. I'm laughing, but it's really, really sad. We're in an age where people don't care. Like the whooping crane got saved because people were outraged that one bird was going extinct. There are so many animals going extinct now that it's just piled on us in a way where we can only feel helpless. And if I could do anything in the world, that would be what I would fix, because diversity in this world is such a gift and it is a blessing for all of us. And I don't want my child to have to tell a story to her kid about that she saw a tiger one day, in real life. People shouldn't have to learn about these animals through pictures and videos, but they might have to. Anyway, on that downer note, I will see you guys in 2 weeks, all right? Please subscribe to my podcast. There is an awesome website that Sean Sandaluki, the moderator of this podcast, made that will have all the books that I mentioned and all the other things that I mentioned, felicitations.fandom.com. Thank you, Sean, being awesome. Thanks to the mods on my Discord, discord.gg/Felicia Day. Check out Voyage to the Stars at apple.co/voyage. And send me questions at #felicitations on Twitter, please. I'm not sure if my thing will be announced in 2 weeks, but I will be talking a lot about it. And your support is always appreciated in the event that you hear me announce something at one point in the future. All right. See you later. Bye.